Yo, what's up, guys? We're here with my boy Dan Sharkey. Dan, you want to tell them what they're supposed to do on the YouTube channel?
Like, share, subscribe.
Great. If you do all three, you have to make sure you do them in order. If you have extra time, check the video description. Check us out on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, everything. Happy with progress. Dan Sharkey.
But basically, this guy had his leg like this. He didn't want you to mount. He was trying to stall the game out. He's trying to survive. Like, he's doing everything right. He's trying to figure out how he's going to recover. And then I told you this is a sequence on how to attack this aggressively. And what I explained is we were in side control like this. He can't mount. He's blocking me here. He's not really trying to escape. And I press the action, right? So what I told you was from this grip, inside control pin like this, I told you to reach up and grab his wrist, but always maintain position of this elbow, okay? He might turn into me and he might turn away. I'm forcing him to turn away. But I also want to anticipate him turning into me, and we'll go through that. So I'd like to be able to add a couple of combos. I'm going to feed you two, okay? One was the one that we've been doing, where I had control of this elbow and I had control of the wrist. And then I told you just pick this knee line up, okay? This is going to be fine. I know you might feel like very weird in the beginning when you're picking up this knee, because you're kind of worried in the beginning of this unknown. What if he turns this way, right? Because like for whatever reason, I didn't touch his jawline and he starts coming this way. We'll deal with that in a second, okay? But for now, we're going to say that we made him turn away, more to do with our shin going on his jawline, so he's going to turn away, right? So I wanted you to come here, drop this, and control this elbow. From here, we said we were going to do a couple of things, right? We were going to figure out what this position was on this arm. Hopefully it's open, that I can easily just take my hand and slide it through. And then I had, and about 2 weeks ago, we went through a different variation of an armbar, okay? And that armbar, normally from a kimura, we're like this, right? Because this is my pushing hand to push back here. But I just entered the other way, okay? So I'm going to ask you to try to remember this in this position, how we came up. I saw an opportunity to lace this way. I'm going to take it backwards, okay? The only thing I'm going to ask you at this point is don't sit back from this angle, because if I sit back like this, no, sir. Elbows, hitchhiker. I have no control of the hitchhiker. I'm sitting so far back in here that when I fall back, I'm going to pull this thing to the wrong hip, okay? So I'm going to ask you to run up really far up that way, because when I fall back, I need to clear this foot to this hip. I got to get my foot line over. I also want to switch my grip. So what I'd like you to do is when you fall back on this grip is to cover this hand. I'm like this, and I just ran up on you. And I'm like this. My leg's going to come up high, and when I flip this, I'm going to hold this tight here because I want to start understanding how I take this hand apart. So I'm only going to ask you to do the transfer on that. But you have to cover the hand because I'm going to lose the elbow. If he spins on me, at least I can go with the rotations to follow him head down. Okay, so I'm fine with how the spin goes. I'm also going to ask you to do the kimura. You can do any one of the combos that I showed over the last 2 weeks, okay? But I'm also going to ask you one time, you can do that one, you could do kimura, whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm going to pair you with two, okay? So on the second one, when you were here driving this like this, and for whatever reason, I told you that if you lose this elbow and you can't stop the rotation, in the last class, we were spinning to this back quadrant. I'll explain right now. I'm over here and I'm dropping, and now I've lost the elbow and he's coming up. So I told you to drop this elbow, use this stabilizing hand, spin your body low so that you take command of this quadrant. Okay, so that's how we've been comboing up. And I explained about the transitions on a high-level black belt. This is where the game lies because I got to keep attacking and I'm losing the position. So I'm going to ask you that we do head and arm now from the top, okay? So let me do the other side with my bad shoulder. I'm like this, right guys? I just described, now this is where we'll pick it up, okay? This is exactly how we left off. I went here, I was controlling the elbow, he's coming up, and then I said, man, I'm losing everything. And now he's driving up, so I told you to spin back, keep this line straight at the elbow line, because I want to control the speed of this retraction. I also want to see if this pocket opens up that I can catch this kimura. but I'm going to play it because now this becomes a gray area and how you read your opportunity. And that's when we talk about reading reaction speed. So I'm going to take this hand and I'm going to make connection as deep as I can. And preferably, if I can see my hands over here, what's going to happen is this gap is going to close right here, and my bicep and the front portion of my deltoid is going to ride the back of the skull line. Because what I want to do at this point is just manipulate the back muscles, okay? Because they're very weak. So when I just spun like this is where I was. I'm losing this position. He's coming up. So I'm sliding my top hand through to connect it on the other side. As I connect it on the other side, I'm not going to drop my hips to the mat. I'm going to aggressively start walking away from him and driving my shoulder. When I'm walking this way with my lower half, it's to drive this shoulder and the front portion of my bicep so that I force the skull line to drive through. If I can just dominate the skull, the rest of the body will end up where I need it to end up. Okay, so when he came up, I'm going to ask your bottom partner to leave this pocket open for you. Because if he doesn't leave the pocket open, I wouldn't have done the move. Okay, because if I couldn't put my hands together, I would have went low. So meaning this at this point. Just now brought it up, because put your legs down for a second. I'm like this, okay? And the person on bottom has this so blocked up and I can't lace through, and the guy's coming up. I'm sliding back and now I'm taking that quadrant. So I'm asking the top player to give you the correct feel. He's basing his hand on the mat, and now I'm going, why the hell would I transfer down there when I got an opportunity to go for this kimura or catching my hands together and not have to make this transfer down there? Right? So I'm asking the top player to leave the pocket open because I'm not going down there if you give me an opportunity up here. Okay? Also, if you're giving me an opportunity from here on this turn as you come up, I may decide to go for a guillotine instead because you're leaving this angle open to lace out the neckline. Right? So I'm asking you, as the bottom player, do not bottle up the player, because then he shouldn't have done the move if he couldn't put his hands together. You have about a half a second to a second on the first spin as you're coming up, because there it goes right there. And now I've attached it, or I can take this arm. But I'm going to say no. We just attached, and now we're dominating that skull line. Ethan's coming up. I am not laying on my hip. My hips and my legs are up. You can start to see me walk. I'm going to keep dominating that skull by movement and turn. Going live, right? I made Ethan fall down for a reason, because I'm just walking and dominating the back of the necklines. Going live, you are flipping those hips and you are giving him violence on the back. Unfortunately, it's nasty to say, but they're going to get a whiplash effect. So jump with me, because I'm going to do it live. I'm here like this and I'm going. As we come over, I want him here, because as we land, I'm going to ask you now to start getting underneath that neck. First reaction is we take our hand and we bring it as deep as possible. I know sometimes you'll put your head on this side. He landed like this. Let's just go deep. My second reaction is I'm going to take my hand, I'm just going to put it on his chest so it slides out easy. I'm going to cup my hands right here. He's going to be pulling down on this arm. So I want to be able to cup this hand so that I marry these guys up to lace this guy through. Either I'm controlling low or high, but now you can see my hands are tight together. My one hand is bladed behind his neckline. My secondary hand's at my bicep. As I'm here, I'm squeezing down with both elbows as I retract the bottom elbow. Both elbows go down before I retract the bottom elbow to the back. And you're like this, sorry. Yeah, we're friends. You're like this. And now I just told you, you went in backwards on this. And now I'm making this transfer. I'm going like this and I'm falling back. Okay? When you fall back, this is how the arm looks right now. Okay? We're basically in this like weird reverse kimura. I'm not going to put my leg over at this point. This hand is going to curl up as I push both down. Okay, so it's really painful. I just did it to Bird. She'll tell you it's like really painful. So this is how it normally would be in a very standard kimura. I'm going to take this hand and I'm going to blade it the other way, because I want this bone to sit right here at right where the muscle sits, right in front of the bend of the elbow. Okay, now I've done both. I've increased the tension at my hand lines. So as I'm blading up, I'm also pulling it down. So Eighth will tell you it's really painful. It's incredibly painful. And now I can start using my legs to position them where I want, okay? So preferably if you could do it, you okay?
Yeah.
I know it feels like shit doing it. Like this, like this. This is where we are. So this hand turns towards the other hand. But the most important thing is that this bone sit right in this muscle, because I'm gonna go keep doing this to you the whole time I'm sitting there, because I want to rip that little muscle apart. I want to give you insane pain, okay? I'm also at the same time as I'm doing this, I'm pushing these two over here downwards so that this amplifies even more, right? So if I'm like this, and I don't stop. So I still grinding, and it hurts like crazy, okay? Number two is, on this grip, when you go the other way, you're like this. And I just told you to drop here. And what's going to happen is sometimes they're just going to over-rotate, and you were sloppy on this guy. So I pull this guy hard, because I'm going to re-shelf this guy on the bottom. So now, as long as I'm hanging over like this, it might look funny. Like you're saying, like, man, you're really in this awkward position. Why am I in an awkward position? Is there something impeding me from getting to this back hip? You have to make a full transfer to turtle. I'm sitting like this. So if I lose everything, all I have to do, we'll go super slow, and I'll mirror his speed. As Ethan's, all I got to do is put my hand down and flip my hip. I'm already on your back. So that was awful for you to go that way. But I didn't lose anything. I really wanted that elbow grip again, because I'd love to be able to dominate up here. So we just went in the head and arm roll. Why don't we go to a mount, right? But I didn't stop this. All I had was this in the very beginning, and I said, man, I'm going to attack like a madman right now, and I'm going to throw everything I have at you to see what you open up. So I don't know what you open up, and that's the beauty of, like, when we talked the other day about a high-level black. He doesn't care. He's not going to impose anything. He's going to follow what you give, right? He just started the attack, and that's a high-level black, right? That's like the fun one to watch, where you go, man, that's really cool, like what he did. You're like this, okay? And now you're pushing this thing down, and you're thinking, maybe I'm Americana, I don't know, maybe I can look for that top hand. And I'm like this, and I feel like, whatever reason, I lost this grip. And I'm going, uh-oh, all I have is the wrist. And now he keeps rotating, so I keep pulling back. And I'm hanging off a side of a cliff like this. Looks weird, right? But all I did was lift this elbow super high. So I'm just going to cup this elbow really well now. And I'm going to take this hand. I don't need it over here anymore. I want to take you back now. Okay? So I'm going to take this hand and go back the other way and lace the other way and flip my feet. So now I'm curled this way. So I could still go back to this back quadrant at any time. But since we own these elbows so well, why don't we just take a massive step or force the issue by dropping my knee line through and then pulling my foot high? I could do that. And that's really for the guy that's blocking up, right? That I'm going to drive and then slide through. But we're going to say keep it simple right now, because some people don't have that flexibility to pull it forward. So I'm just going to come in here. I switch my lines now, so I'm perfectly bladed on the back side. I'm going to take this foot and I'm just going to put it through, okay? And now we're just going to say, hey, we could take this a lot of different ways, okay? Why don't we just do a simple gift wrap? I'm going to grab onto his wrist. I'm going to lace my hand through, and this is where we are. Slide through, pull back. Now we're on this side, okay? And on this side, why don't we just do a simple one? We're going to pretend to choke him, and as he pulls our hand down, we let it go, and we isolate it. And now we're like this. We're going to pretend he's high enough. If he's too low, we're going to transfer to a triangle, but we're going to say he's high enough. I'm going to come underneath this throat line with one hand. I'm going to get a good, nice, deep grip behind that trap. I'm going to start pulling this thing back, okay? And we're going to finish it with one hand. If I need the secondary hand, you can always bring it in, okay? So, you okay, kiddo? Yeah. You're having a rough morning. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I ate breakfast this morning. Sorry about that, kid. Okay, so when we pull back, I wanted control of two things. I wanted control of the elbow or the wrist, but I'd take either one. Either one benefited me either way. So when I started to move, all I had was this. I had an elbow and a wrist, and I'm going to make you turn. Because you can't tell me that, that a person, even 125 pounds, and the man's much bigger, that when they start driving this shin line at that jaw and on your cheek line and stuff, that you're not going to turn that way. You are going to turn that way, Okay, and it's not the end of the world if you turn this way, because what's the worst case scenario? I'm pushing like this, and you turn this way. Okay, so I just spin this way too. Okay, so it's not a big deal. Like if you decided you wanted to go the other way, okay, we'll go the other way. Now I'm back this way again. Same position, same position. Okay, so I just married it to the other side. You decided you wanted to force it back the other way, okay, then we'll go the other way too. Okay, so it's not the end of the world if you overreact. I still started with the same position, a wrist and an elbow. So on this guy, when we pushed him out, we said he over-rotated. I lost this position here. So I spin it and I pull. Okay, worst case scenario, if you want to drill it, right, and I lose everything, and he comes to turtle, I base my hand, I either slide my first hook through, and now throw my secondary, or you could do the one that we do a lot, which is the easier one for a lot of people, is just sliding your knee line in, pulling at the ACL, sliding my leg through. I'm also fine with you throwing the far side hook in first. Just understand your body control on this side. So if you're going to do that one, any one of the three is fine. There's no right or wrong. You take the opportunity they gave you to insert a foot. Okay. On the last one that we did, we were holding this positional line, and now he was like this, and I lost the elbow, and I was trying my best to drive him down, but now he's over rotating. So I spin and I pull. I get a nice deep grip now. So now I'm positioned either to go back to that bottom quadrant on the low side down there, or we're going to say no. Because I had this position so good and so deep on the shelf, he's not going anywhere. So it's easy for me to release, collapse my hands together on this side, and flip my hips. Because now I can go back to this bottom quadrant, but we're saying like, man, we're holding this position so good. I would rather choke you out with you on your belly down and me on top. That's the most embarrassing one you can get, okay? So now I'm here, either driving this knee line, touching it. Moment it touches, I jam my knee high. Or we're going to say pretty simple. I saw an opportunity to just take a step over. I take a step over, I look for the wrist, I lace through on the other side. Now I'm in a gift wrap. I said we were going to come high. I pull in high as I come over. As we land on this side, my first reaction is try to get under your throat. You want to pull my hand down, I get it. As you pull my hand down, I let the hand happen. So as he pulls it down, I trap. Moment I trap, I take my toes, and in this position, we're sitting in a weird position. I'm going to take my toes and I'm going to put them in the middle of the spinal cord, so I really get rid of this arm. So these toes that were sitting here are just going to curl up and go right behind you, because now I'm shelved behind your delta, also, your quad, so I'm limiting the rotation. Now my free hand, we're one-on-one battle to get underneath that throat. I'm going to gooseneck underneath. As I get positioned on the far side, I get the best bite I can behind his neckline. And now I'm going to retract my elbow to that ceiling behind me. So, you okay? Right? So as I'm going to start pulling down with my lower body as I retract that blade high. Okay, guys, let's part of it. Forget going happy pill. Those videos were non-stop on how we get behind here, how we insert, how we recover, hip flips, everything. So you should be really kind of coordinated if you read long. If you haven't, if I see all messed up, I'll be yelling at you. You don't watch the happy pill. Okay, guys, so let's do it.